That's the kind we want in the tournament, baby. Oh, man. Boy, oh, boy.
So unfortunately, that type of fish was not caught during the tournament.
No, that was the second day of practice, and my Rayburn event did not go well at all. And it was catching 2-pounders was, you know, relatively easy, but I went into it knowing that I needed to catch a fish like that each day as a kicker to kind of get over 12.5 pounds. And we're going to talk a lot about the Rayburn tournament from a lot of different perspectives this week. I know we talked about stolen a drop shot on Monday, and we've got some other videos related to Rayburn. There's a lot to kind of process and a lot to put into content for the channel this week, but wanted to use Underwater Wednesday and kind of, you know, adjust it a little bit, and this is going to be an On the Water Wednesday. Kind of give you a recap of my day 2 on Rayburn. It was a very rainy day. Actually, day 1 of the tournament, we had an 1.5-hour fog delay. So that kind of hurt all the guys, and that was supposedly my long day of fishing, which got shortened. So I had 2 days that ended up being about the same shortened length. But you see, you know, this is the first fish.
I don't think it's fair that because you guys have a delay, you can't then get added time on the end of it.
Well, everybody's delayed though, and everybody sat for an 1.5 hours. Granted, guys that had short days on day 1 had even shorter days. So
and I don't think that's fair for them.
Yeah,
either.
well, it is what it's fair for everybody. It's the same amount of fishing time, and you can't run fishing tournaments into 8 o'clock at night. People who run the tournaments have things that they got to do as well. But let's talk about the first fish that we just caught there. That was actually one of the best keepers that I had.
Yeah, that was a big one.
That was a 2.5. And I got to that spot and very quickly caught. But you're actually going to notice that on the very next cast, I just got my drop shot untangled from the net, which is another piece of information that we need to talk about in an episode upcoming, because I did the cardinal mistake of netting that fish with a drop shot rig, and that's a disaster when you got that whole drop shot rig in a net. So I got it undone, and you notice the very next cast after putting that 2.5 pounder into the live well and getting my drop shot rig out of the net, I've got another fish hooked up. This was an area right out in front of Beach Basin, and it was an interesting area in that it was about 22 feet deep, and it created almost like a pool or a pond, in that the sides on 3 sides came up to about 10 feet. So there was a wall with an opening towards the main lake and a channel leading in towards Beach Basin. And I was just in that deep pool. You know, it was probably about the size of a football field, or maybe half of a football field. And I was just looking at my forward-facing sonar and looking for clouds of bait fish, and the bass were underneath them. So because the bass were underneath those clouds of bait fish, I was using a drop shot. And now on this one, I actually saw bass above the clouds of bait fish, and so I was throwing a jerk bait and caught this third fish using a jerkbait. So interestingly enough, there were several things you could do if the fish were suspended on top of the bait fish. You could throw a jerkbait, you could throw a Damiki rig, but a lot of the bass were below the bait fish, and so I used a drop shot quite a bit. And I think we're getting here to the fourth fish, which again, this is right in the exact same area that I caught the big one in practice. And unfortunately, I caught a bunch of smaller ones during the tournament. No big ones were living there during the tournament.
We're going to talk about not necessarily this video, but fish etiquette, fisherman etiquette.
Well, what do you want to talk about?
How sometimes some fishermen think that because...
Well, talk about the specific situation.
So a fisherman came up to you after day one and told you that he should have rights to an area because he was ahead of you.
He had about 22 pounds off of that area before I got there, and saw me go in after he had left, and then at the gas station the next day kind of said, hey, I think I'm going to be starting in there. I got 22 pounds. I think I'm going to go in there and get a limit. And when you heard about that, you took exception to that.
He said that he wanted to go in there first and that you should let him go in there before you go in there?
Yeah, he didn't say that in direct terms. He said, I'm thinking I'm going to start there tomorrow.
Yeah, as in you can't.
That's what he implied.
Mm-hmm. And you felt like that was an okay thing for him to do.
And so what ended up happening is I went in there and he never showed up there. So it was a non-issue. But your question to the viewers is, should a guy who's in 90th place with 10 pounds give way to a guy who caught 22 pounds on a spot? And the viewers are going to respond with their answer. You and I had quite the debate over this that night. Mm-hmm. And so let's see I'm not going to give any hints about what I thought should happen or anything else, but let's see what the viewers had to say. And we aren't even going to name the person.
No, we're not.
Who it was, but
as we're watching you catch fish, Mark, please subscribe to the channel. And if you like what you're seeing, push the like button, put your comments, comment on how right I am about what that guy should have said. Also, if you have suggestions on what Mark could have done better, please just subscribe, like, comment. That would be hugely appreciated. And stay tuned.
But anyway, guys, that's some fish catches from my second day in the Rayburn event. We are going to talk some more tomorrow and the next day about that Rayburn event and what I learned out of that, because I came away with a lot of information. It was a lot of expensive information because I truly planned on cashing a check in this event. And I'm very disappointed with my outcome. So I had to get something out of it, and I took away a lot of information. We're going to share that information with you in our upcoming videos so that you can learn from this as well. Like I said, I know I'm going to need to learn from it. So, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Stick around tomorrow for another episode of Mark Fisher Outdoors. Take care, everybody.
Stay channeled.